Hi everyone, my name is Miyo Sun. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'll be speaking about how success in research starts with an open mind. So first off, a little about me. I'm a first-year undergraduate student majoring in biological sciences at the University of California, Irvine. I graduated high school last year in 2020, and I've competed in a regional science Olympiad competition for 3 years, so I did those Division C events. Fun fact, forensics is my favorite event since it combines my favorite subjects of biology and chemistry. I think it's really great that you all have decided to compete together in Science Olympiad. Today, I'll be talking about the specific research I'm involved in and the importance of staying open-minded. It's an honor to be speaking to you all, and hopefully by the end of my talk, you can consider research in your future aspirations. So how did I get involved in research, especially considering that I'm a first year in college? In my experience, I entered college fully committed to the pre-med track, as I always had an interest in medicine and the ability of the human body to heal itself. But one of the main things I've learned in college is to build connections, since that's how you'll create opportunities for yourself. You need to be the one to take the initiative, to take that first step. So after I started asking questions in my first biology class, I noticed that the teacher's assistant was extremely knowledgeable about neurobiology related topics, like the study of the brain and nervous systems. So I took the initiative to reach out and ask what kind of research he does, since I was still unsure about what research even was. So what is research? The main goal of research is to further advance our existing knowledge. I mean, the COVID vaccine was made in only a year due to all the research the scientists did. So at least in a biology sense, we're reading about other scientists' findings and creating and testing new hypotheses. Long story short, his research was really interesting, so I applied to be his assistant, and here I am. Now I'm unsure of what kind of career I want to choose since I'm exploring my options. And as you can see here, I'm personally considering graduate school, medical school, or working in the STEM field. And it's okay to be unsure as it's a process to learn about yourself and what you want to do. You are all doing a great job already exploring different fields of science in Science Olympiad. So what kind of research am I doing? My lab conducts research on dendrite regeneration after injury in fruit flies. What does that even mean? As we can see on this diagram of a neuron, dendrites are the branches off of the cell body on the left there. Neurons are specialized cells in the nervous system that are required for the body to function properly in our everyday lives. Neurons communicate with each other through these dendrites that receive signals and tell the other cells in the body what to do. But what happens if a neuron can't communicate properly? These dysfunctional neurons that can't communicate pose dangers to a person's health and can be a result of genetic influences or physical influences like a brain or spinal cord injury. For instance, when someone is paralyzed, the spinal cord neurons can't communicate with the appropriate neurons related to movement, so the person can't move at the site of their injury. And in brain injury, the abnormal dendrites on the neurons may affect neuron communication, which could then affect our memory and decisions. So in our lab, our goal is to understand the genes that affect how dendrites recover from injury. We can do this by using a 2-photon laser that basically cuts off a dendrite branch at a specific point, like the arrow shows here. So in this image to the left, we can see an uninjured neuron. So the branches haven't yet been cut off with the laser. To the right, we can see the same neuron 72 hours after the branches were cut off with the laser. And we can see a lot of the branches have been regenerated. But the way it regenerated looks a lot different than the original neuron. So what does this mean for us? If we can identify the genes that enhance such regeneration, this may have implications in developing therapies for neuronal disorders. For instance, with spinal cord injuries, what if we could remake those connections that were severed in injury? And with Alzheimer's disease, which is a memory loss disease, what if there's a way we can slow its progression or prevent it overall? And this research is really fascinating since it's a largely unexplored field in science. I'm constantly learning new things every week, and it's such a privilege. At first, I thought this research was only about developmental biology and neurobiology, but wait, just like how Science Olympiad joins together various fields of science through building events, study type events, and performance of labs, most research labs do that too. For instance, I'm learning about genetics, how to use microscopes and lasers, neurobiology, developmental biology, experimental design, data analysis, and medical applications. So research includes studying, creating hypotheses, and performing these hands-on experiments. And by staying open-minded, you might be able to learn something outside of a specific field of science that may really spark your interest. Another big part of research is working in a team. This can lead to your personal growth as you gain connections with many people, and you can engage in conversations about a common interest. Since research is a relatively new experience for me, by working with other people, I'm developing some interpersonal skills that I haven't considered before. And it's also nice to overcome challenges as a team by staying open-minded. For all of you that have done a building type event in the past, I'm sure that a part of it was a trial and error process. But you overcame that challenge and created something unique to you and your team by listening to your team's opinions and contributing your own. In my experience, I did forensics all 3 years and scored better each year until I managed to place third. Even if I didn't get first, this was extremely meaningful to me as my effort led to good results, and it's also thanks to my partners for filling in the areas where I am weak in. This is similar to research as everyone on the team is always asking each other questions to gain second or third opinions on ideas. And one thing about Science Olympiad that I really liked was having teams within teams, as we have partners in our specific events, but everyone from the school collectively is a team. This just shows how in college and life, you're going to be working with other people all the time. I work with 2 other undergraduate students and a graduate student in a small team focusing on a specific hypothesis, and all the other people in my lab are focusing on different hypotheses. But we are all united under the topic of dendrite regeneration, which allows us to give different insight on ideas. And by staying open-minded, you'll be able to develop your own interests, and your team will be there to help you and support you. I encourage you to be open to new opinions and suggestions since they could trigger a good idea in your mind. Currently, you are all participants of Science Olympiad, so I know that you're already creative and open-minded. For instance, if any of you went to a competition before the pandemic, wasn't it really cool to see what kinds of products other schools built too? And I want to ask you all to consider what Science Olympiad events you personally like. How did you know that you liked it? It's because you tried it out, developed an interest for it, and then worked hard for it. This also applies to research. How will you know if you like scientific research without giving it a try? Even though I didn't see myself doing research when I entered college, I'm so glad I decided to give it a try, since I'm constantly learning new things that I'm interested in. So even if you're committed to a future plan or career in STEM, I encourage you all to try out research since it opens so many opportunities for me, even like this expo talk right now. And you don't have to be a genius to join either. I mean, I only had high school level biology knowledge when I joined. What's important is to stay open-minded and be willing to learn and ask questions. If you think about it, science is all about asking questions. And you won't be afraid to learn or ask questions because you'll have a supportive team, just like your Science Olympiad teams and coaches. By keeping an open mind, maybe you'll discover something you want to try, and it could be a big breakthrough in your personal journey. I want to give credit to Patrick and Dr. Thompson-Pierre for their research ideas that were presented today. You can learn more about the Thompson-Pierre Lab in this journal article and our websites below. Thank you for listening, and I wish you the best in your future Science Olympiad competitions and your future aspirations.